It's game 6 of the World Series as it shifts back to Houston. The Atlanta Braves with another opportunity to close this thing out, and they have their ace, Max Fried, on the mound. We'll be breaking down the pitching matchups and so much more about game 6 on this episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
Hey, this is Stacey Gotsoulias,
DC Lundberg,
Ryan Finkelstein,
Taylor Blake Ward,
host of Locked On Yankees,
Locked On Mariners,
Locked On Mets,
Locked On Angels,
and you're listening to Locked On Braves.
Locked On Braves,
Locked On Braves,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves over at TomahawkTake.com. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, and also subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Appreciate all the support. We were number 1 on the network last week, so really do appreciate all the support since I've taken over the podcast and going through this run through the postseason with you. Also, thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. We post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we're free and available on all platforms. On today's episode, going to be talking about, obviously, Game 6, be previewing Game 6 in this one. And it's going to be, a lot of pressure, I think, on the Braves in this game. Game 5 was kind of the game where you felt like you had 2 more games in your back pocket you could play around with. Obviously, we discussed the fact that Snitker, managed that way, knowing he had 2 more games. But now going back to Houston, especially, I think the pressure in this game is on the Braves because if you don't win, then you go to Game 7 on the road against a team who's been there, done that. So I think there's a lot of pressure on the Braves to win this game in Game 6. Certainly from a fan's perspective, you want to get it done here. Don't want to have to go to that Game 7. So this is certainly the one I think that the Braves are going to go all in on. I mean, they'll do so in the next 2 games, but for sure this is the one, the Braves are hoping to win, expecting to win. And as I mentioned on my last podcast, I think you only use the best pitchers in this game, really in the next 2 games. You're hoping he gets freed for 5 or 6 innings, and then Jackson, Matzik, Smith, if you have to use Minter in those middle innings, then perhaps you do, although he looked a little tired in that last game. But, you're hoping to only use 4 pitchers to get through this one, and then really the same thing if it goes to a Game 7. Those are the only pitchers Snitker really should trust at this point. You got a World Series on the line. I don't want to see any more Drew Smileys, Dylan Lee, Tucker Davidson. I don't want to see any more of that coming out of that bullpen. I'll mention Kyle Wright in there as an arm. If things did happen to get out of hand, maybe more so in Game 7, and you needed a righty to come in to get a big out, I actually think Kyle Wright might be one of your best options there. But again, should only be 4 or 5 pitchers at most that you trust in these next 2 games. And then on the offensive side of things, you got to score early. That's got to be the key on the road for sure. That's what happened in these last 2 games in Houston, the first 2 games of this series. Whichever team scored early went on to win it. So offense has to come out, force Dusty Baker's hand, who's obviously going to have a quick trigger in this game with his pitchers and they're back against the wall. So force Dusty Baker's hand, maybe make a move before he's ready to make one in this one. So hopefully the offense has a good game plan ready against Luis Garcia and that Astros pitching staff. Take a quick break here at the top, and then we'll come back and we'll break down those pitching matchups for Game 6. BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit just when you use our promo code Locked On. From basketball, football, baseball, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so getting into those pitching matchups for Game 6, I talked about it a little bit at the top with Max Fried. Obviously, Fried started in Game 2 of this series and did not go particularly well, more so in the early innings. But overall, 5 innings, 7 hits, 1 walk, 6 earned, and 6 strikeouts on 86 pitches for Max Fried. His last 2 postseason starts combined have not been fantastic. 9 and 2/3 innings, 15 hits, 3 walks, 11 earned, and 9 strikeouts. And I mentioned, he struggled out of the gate against Houston. I think their hitters had a very good game plan against him and were able to jump out to get that early lead. Also, a lot of bad luck in that second inning. Some things that just didn't go his way. Some balls put in play that, just found holes, beat the ship. Defense wasn't great in that inning either. So a lot of things just really unraveled for him in that inning. And after that, really settled down, retired 10 in a row, which I thought was big coming into his next start. I had to give him a lot of confidence there. Lefties, Michael Brantley and Kyle Tucker actually hit him the hardest. They both had a couple of really hard hits against Max Fried in that one, so that's something to keep an eye on. Fried did get 15 swings and misses in his last start, 6 on the slider and 7 on the curveball. He threw his slider a lot more. He only had 1 swing and miss on the fastball. Um, and that's, really what I thought the Astros game plan looked like. Just going back and looking at the pitches, the balls put in play here, it seemed like the Astros were really keying in on his fastball early in that game. And then once Fried and d'Arnaud recognized that, they switched to the off-speed stuff and really started to get some swings and misses and started to get rolling. So it'll be interesting to see if the Astros hitters stay with that in this time around against Fried, and to see if Fried and d'Arnaud come out of the gate, really establishing that off-speed stuff, and can Fried locate it, because that's, one of the big things where he started to get into a groove there. He was able to locate those off-speed pitches early in counts, and then was able to put them away with those pitches down in the zone or either away to righties. That's where he was really effective. A lot of the pitches that he gave up hits on were pitches that were coming inside to righties. Again, not a lot. They weren't great swings. Gurriel inside out one that went the other way against the shift. Jose Siri had a little dribbler up the first base line and had a 32 foot per second sprint speed down first base, which is just incredible. I went back and looked at all the hits that he gave up. He gave up early in the game. He gave up a double to Altuve on a fastball that was hit 83.8 miles per hour. He gave up a single to Tucker on a fastball hit 94.4 miles per hour. He gave up that Gurriel single that I was talking about that beat the shift. That was on a fastball, 84.2 miles per hour. So again, those were all early game hits there. The single he gave up to Siri early in the game was on a slider. It was hit 51.5 miles per hour. Again, just a little dribbler that he beat out. And then Maldonado had a single on a slider at 89.1 mile per hour exit velocity. And then he hung a curveball to Brantley that was hit 101.3 miles per hour. And then in the 6th inning, he hung a curveball to Carlos Correa that was hit 105.5 miles per hour. So again, not a lot of hard hit balls against him early in that game. Again, the 2 hardest hit balls off of him came on hanging curveballs, which, the guy who throws a lot of curveballs, as good as his is, you leave it up to this lineup and it's going to get hit hard. So, there's only 1 extra base hit in there. All the rest of them were singles. Again, so just a lot of series of unfortunate events for Max Fried in that first outing. You got to hope the luck's a little bit more on his side this time around. Again, I think the thing to watch is, you know, does he try to get ahead with that off-speed pitch? If it looks like the Astros hitters are keying in on his fastball again, how does he adjust to that? I think that'll be certainly something to watch as Fried goes up against these Astros hitters again in this one. And on the other side, Luis Garcia, his first time out, I honestly think, I know Jose Urquidy did really well, but Luis Garcia is the one to me that had the best stuff out of any of the Astros pitchers. I was glad when Dusty Baker pulled him in that Game 3 outing. He went 3 2/3, gave up 3 hits and 4 walks. Only gave up 1 earned run, though, and had 6 strikeouts. The command was clearly eluding him early in that game with the weather conditions. I think that played a big role in a lot of the walks that he had. He was still able to get out of some big jams with some strikeouts. Braves hitters are going to have to do a better job of putting the ball in play against him. Again, 6 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings. Braves hitters have got to do a better job of putting the ball in play. And he primarily throws 2 pitches. He throws a 4-seam fastball. In the last start, anyway, he threw it 54% of the time and threw his cutter 28% of the time. He got 15 swings and misses on those two pitches. The cutter was especially deadly for him. He got 9 whiffs on 12 swings on that pitch. So, got to watch out for that cutter. Definitely his most dangerous pitch, but everything's going to be fairly hard for Luis Garcia. Again, just mainly throwing that fastball and cutter combination. So that's what you want to watch out for with him in this game and see if the Braves hitters can put some better swings on it. Again, I thought a lot of uncomfortable swings for the Braves hitters against Luis Garcia. Was glad when he got out of there. He will be on 3 days rest. So this is a young pitcher, 3 days rest. He only threw 72 pitches last time. So, I mean, you could look at that and say he's going to be fresh, but at the same time, Dusty didn't let him face the order 3 times. He's averaging 62 pitches a start this postseason. So you got to figure he's not going to go very long in this one. Again, certainly don't think Dusty will let him face the lineup for a third time. So you're looking at, at most 4 innings, maybe 4 plus innings here for Luis Garcia. But again, as I kind of mentioned at the top, if the Braves offense can jump on him early, push a run or two across, then maybe force Dusty's hand to pull him out even earlier than he wants to. The Astros had to use a lot of their good pitchers in Game 5. They've had an off day now, but certainly Dusty doesn't want to have to unleash that bullpen too early in this one if he doesn't have to. And then Austin, Riley, Ball, and Travis d'Arnaud had some pretty good swings off Luis Garcia last time, so keep an eye on them this time around. But again, I think Luis Garcia is one of their better, most dominant pitchers, at least strikeout wise. He has a high strikeout capability, and obviously, as we know, the Braves lineup is prone to strikeout. I think that's going to be a key. Can they put the ball in play, especially in some big spots? Can they be patient, make him work the at bat, get his pitch count up there, take some walks, something that they just didn't do in Game 5. It seems like the hitters were way over aggressive, trying to do too much in Game 5, and had some ball fours that they could have had, but instead struck out. I think they have to be more patient at the plate here. Let Luis Garcia get himself into trouble and put the ball in play when you have opportunity. All right, we'll take one more break here, and then we'll come back with a prediction. Braves have the guy on the mound that they want for Game 6 in Max Fried. Can Fried avoid the early struggles and the big inning? Can he settle into this one? He was never really able to do that in Game 2. The Astros jumped on him in the first. Altuve led off the game with a double on the score. And then, again, I talked about the series of unfortunate events in that second inning. But can he avoid the big inning? And that's really been one of my keys all series for this Braves pitching is the Astros are going to score, but can you keep them to 1 run? Can you avoid them from putting up a crooked number? I think what Max Fried has to be trying to do in this one. I think he goes at least 5, hopefully 6, allowing 2 earned or less. I think that would be really huge. I think that's what Max needs to do in this game. 2 runs is the key for me. It's been the key all series. In each of the 3 games the Braves have won, they've held the Astros to 2 runs or fewer. That's a really tall task and a big ask against the best offense in all of baseball. But that's really what the Braves pitchers need to be looking to do here. That needs to be their focus. Keep them 2 runs or less. If they do that, I think they have a really good chance of winning this game. You have the starter on the mound to do that. You have the bullpen rested and ready to do that. So this is the game. If they're going to hold this Astros team down again offensively, I think this is your best opportunity to do that. So give me 5, 6 innings out of Fried, 2 earned or less, and then turn it over to Jackson, Matzik, Smith. Matzik should be ready to go multiple innings if he needs to in this one. Certainly think Snicker will pull out all the stops in this game, obviously, if they have the lead. A little bit more luck this time around. I talked about it. Max Fried, I just think he had some unfortunate things happen to him in that Game 2. They need to stop shifting against Yuli Gurriel. I mean, they keep mentioning on the Fox broadcast too. I don't know why they keep doing that, but a ball hit weakly into play needs to be an out for Fried in this game. Need the defense to step up. Again, the defense was not great in Game 2. They really haven't been, awesome all throughout this entire World Series. I don't know if they're starting to tighten up a little bit, but Ozzy's throws from second when he's in the shift are starting to look a little scary. Freddie's had to save him a couple of times over there. Riley's been really good at the corner, but the guys up the middle, and particularly Swanson and Albies, they've got to do a much better job defensively. make the plays that they're supposed to in this game. And again, maybe soften up the ship a little bit, especially with 2 strikes. Don't let the Astros get any of those cheap hits like they got against Fried in game 2. I think that's going to be a huge key in this one. And then can the offense score early and can they add on? Something they really haven't done in this series yet. They've been able to get runs, and in some games they've been able to get runs early, but just not add on. Um, you know, game 3 at home was the only game where they really, scored late, came back from that 2-0 deficit. But this is a game where they need to score early, put the pressure on the Astros, but they need to continue to add. And, even when they hit the grand slam in game 5, you thought, okay, it's the first inning. Hopefully this is going to lead to a 7, 8, 9 run game for the Braves. And they just never really added. I mean, Freddie Freeman had the solo home run, but nothing else really happened from the offense. They can't just sit back if they get a lead in this one and the offense just can't go to sleep. They have to continue to add, to pour on runs in this game. Hopefully now they see after game 5 where that didn't happen, that hopefully they're more keen on that to continue to push the envelope and to try to score more runs, as I'm sure they're trying to do. But this time around, they definitely need to get that done, need to continue to add runs. This Astros offense is going to continue to come. They're going to continue to threat. Braves pitchers got to do a good job of getting out of those jams, getting out of those situations. Meanwhile, the Braves have to get that early lead, continue to add, continue to score runs throughout this game. You can't just have 1 or 2 innings here or there where you post a run or two. You got to continue to add all throughout the game, continue to put the pressure on the Astros in this one. The Astros have no tomorrow. I think the Braves should pitch and manage. Brian Snitker should manage like he has no tomorrow. The Astros are going to unload the bullpen. Dusty will have a quick trigger if any of his guys, don't seem like they have the best stuff. But just like I said, the Braves should only throw 4 or 5 key guys in this game. The same is going to be true for the Astros. Again, their backs are against the wall. They have no tomorrow. Dusty's going to use his best pitchers trying to get through this one. Going to make it more challenging on the Braves to continue to add the runs like I talked about. But again, they got it. They have to do it if they want to get the job done. So giving you my prediction for this one, I hate doing these predictions. The jinx mentality in me doesn't like doing it, but I do think on paper, this matchup really should favor the Braves. They have Max Fried going against a 24-year-old and Luis Garcia, who's coming back out on short rest. An Astros bullpen that had unloaded the other day. I know they didn't have to use Presley, but they used pretty much everybody else in that one. So, I mean, this should favor the Braves on paper. It always scares me to pick a team who is favored on paper because baseball just doesn't happen on paper. So I'm scared to do this, but I'm going to pick the Braves. I think they do win 4-3. I think Fried gets it done. I think he goes, 5, maybe 5+ innings, 2 earned or less. And then I think the bullpen comes in and is able to hold on. I think the Braves do get an early 2-run lead. And then I think they score another one here or there later in the game. But I think the Braves win 4-3. I think they close out in game 6. Again, I do not want to see this thing as a Braves fan go to a game 7. I just think that's a lot of pressure on a team that hasn't closed out on this big of a stage before, going against an Astros team that has been there, done that. They'll be at home in front of their home crowd. So to me, this is the game the Braves need to go all in on. You got Max Fried on the mound. You have your bullpen guys rested. Get out to an early lead, put the pressure on the Astros, force Dusty Baker to make a decision that maybe he shouldn't or doesn't want to, and just continue to add Max Fried, continue to work, go deep into the game and get it to that back end of the bullpen. Tyler Matzik can pitch 2 innings in this game for me. Snicker's done a good job with the bullpen when he's used those guys of, teeing it up where Luke comes in to face the bottom of the order, and then you set it up for Matzik to face the top of the order. I would let Matzik go as long as he can in this one. He's been so special in this postseason. Again, I'd try to give him 2 innings if you can. Even if Fried goes 6, depending on where the Astros are in their lineup, I'd let Matzik go the 7th and the 8th and pass it over to Will Smith. Use your best pitchers in this one to get through it, especially if you have a lead or if the game is close. This shouldn't be another situation like game 5 where it's a 2-run lead late and you're bringing in Drew Smiley or Chris Martin, who Chris Martin's actually been pretty good, knock on wood, his last 2 outings. But if the game's within reach late, you got to pull your best guy out there, give your offense a chance to come back. That's, again, not to harp on game 5 anymore, but when you brought out Drew Smiley and he gave up those add-on runs, it allowed us to not have to use Ryan Presley or Javier in that game. It allowed him to rest his bullpen. So, that plays a factor in it as well. So you can't let that happen this time around. If the Braves are down, but it's close, within 2 or 3 runs, you still have to go to your best relievers in this one to give them a chance to come back. But should be an exciting game 6. Hopefully the Braves will be able to close it out. I think we get a good start from Max Fried. I think the offense does just enough in this one, and they come away with a 4-3 win. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And I will be back after Game 6 to do a full recap and breakdown of everything happening in Game 6. Hopefully, a Braves win and a World Series clincher. Be very exciting. But we'll be back after Game 6 with a lot more from this series. So check us out then.